Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today and welcome to this special talk about Girls in ICT Day, brought to you by Plan International and sponsored by Ewellix. I'm Celeste and I'm going to be the conductor of this webinar today. We want to start this space by thanking Ewellix for its commitment to supporting Plan International for the last 2 years, especially in related initiatives on women's rights and our programs at international level. And okay, today I'm not alone, but first let me introduce myself. As I say, my name is Celeste and I'm talking to you from Spain. My professional career has been always related to technology since I started as software developer more than 20 years ago. As one of the few women in this professional area, one of my core missions is advocating for gender diversity and representation in the tech industry, which fits perfectly with our topic today. I'm extremely excited to be here today, and as I have said, I'm not alone today because we have a wonderful guest who is joining us today. Estela, welcome. Please let us know more about yourself.
Thanks, Celeste. So yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Stella Sellerier. I'm 30 years old and I'm French, if in case you couldn't recognize from my accent. I'm a mechanical engineer working at Ewellix for 3 years now. Yeah, since I'm little, I'm really passionate about science, especially mathematics. So I study mechanical engineering, and after that, basically, I start to work in France in a, let's say, software company that develops solutions for product design, simulation, manufacturing, and product lifecycle management. After 5 years, I decided to join a new challenge at Ewellix, and there I'm working at the R&D department, managing the process that we use. So, for example, how we develop new products to the market, but also defining all the application that our engineer is using in their daily job. So the CAD application they use to model, let's say, their products, but also product lifecycle management solution. Aside of work, I'm, let's say, mainly outdoor person. I could go hiking, cycling, skiing every time I can.
Great. Thank you so much, Stella, for being with us today. And let's move on now, Stella. Let's move to the past and to know a bit more about the amazing story of Plan International, who is bringing today this webinar, and to know more about its dedication on defending children's rights and promoting education as a key lever to change their lives and the world. Our story begins in Spain in 1937 during the Spanish Civil War. Our story begins when a journalist met a child carrying a sign that said, "If you meet my son, it means that I'm dead. Take care of him." The name of this journalist was John Langdon Davis, the man in the left of the screen. After this touching event, okay, very touching for me, he joined forces with an English volunteer called Eric Mager-Wright and founded Plan International.
What a touching story.
Yeah, it's very touching. And well, from those early years in Spain, Plan International has grown into a global organization working in over 80 countries with a commitment to every project. Over the decades, Plan International has grown facing crises expanding across different regions and focusing on the sustainable and lasting development of children and communities. And currently, Plan International continues working for children's rights, now paying special attention to girls, since they are at a disadvantage compared to boys. For this reason, Plan International, in its different projects, has reached 22.2 million girls, million women all over the world, distributed in more than, okay, I'm going to try to say the number, 67,300 communities in the 80 countries in which it works. It's a lot of people. And although there is some progress, you will agree with me, Stella, there is still much to do. Every child has the right for a sustainable education. Of course, education is crucial for breaking the cycle of poverty, but sadly, many girls face barriers and accessing it, and Plan International is working hard on that. Today, we are focusing on technology education and the gender gap worldwide. Let me share, Stella, some interesting figures about this gap. This data comes from the World Economic Forum in 2023 about global gender gap. This study benchmarks gender parity across 146 countries all over the world. Let's focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, usually called it STEM. According to this study, women make up almost half, 49.3% of total employment across non-STEM occupation, but just 29.2% of all STEM workers. The difference is evident. Another interesting data is that women currently account for 29.4% of entry-level workers, yet not high-level leadership roles representation drops from 17.8% to 12.4%. The percentage of women working with AI today is approximately 30%. Only 30% of all the workers who is working with artificial intelligence. Maybe the main technology from these years, for the last years. But these data are not very representative because they are only quantifying those women who do access to technology, something that is not always a reality. So let's change this slide. The following figures show the gender gap percent in internet access in the world, where the difference among continents are very evident. As you can see, in most cases, women have less access to the internet than men. So we can guess that access to technology also has a gender gap. It's very interesting that Africa is completely different from the other countries, but this is the reality that where we are living. So let's move. International Day of Girls in ICT, April 25. Stella, as a woman with a STEM career, what are your thoughts about this data, about these figures?
Yeah, I'm not really surprised about this data. I think they reflect quite well the reality. Women are still, let's say, underrepresented in scientific field. especially in the leadership role. So yeah, that's not something, let's say, new. And I think, let's say, equal access to technology is a key factor to close this gender gap. And of course, basically, it's going through internet access. So I think it was some good figure to show to introduce this topic.
For your own experience, how is the women's situation in ICT in your country?
Yeah, so ICT science fields are quite, let's say, large. So there is, I think, some field where there is a good representation of women, and some where it's still largely underrepresented. In my case, for example, let's say mechanical engineer, it's mainly male. I almost had never, let's say, women as colleague, both in my study or in my career. And yes, as I think I already mentioned, we are, I think, lacking of role model, let's say, in the leadership role for women. There are, let's say, I think the women are more, let's say, staying in entry roles and basically pursuing the career to, let's say, more advanced role. But let's say I think it's still improving. Again, depending some fields. I think in informatics it's growing a lot in France and Switzerland.
Exactly.
But in some sector, it's still, let's say, they are still struggling to attract women.
Completely agree. Even in my own experience, from the point of view of someone who is a program developer or software developer, okay, I can see the gender gap in my country, in Spain. Although I agree, I must say that I feel that the gap is smaller than 20 years ago, but of course, in software development, I think in other sectors it's not exactly the same. When I started working technology, was a really big gender gap, but well, I still feel that there is a lot of work to do. Another question, Stella, what are the main reasons, in your opinion, that the female gender is underrepresented in STEM graduates?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think the main reason of, let's say, unequal representation of gender in ICT field during education is that uh, still it's education. I think still today girls are much pushed to, let's say, girl-oriented, let's say, activities or game, and boys have still the opportunity to discover, let's say, science and technology earlier. So I think it's one key point. Also, let's say, university and other education place, they are not welcoming, let's say, gender in the same way. For example, if you take engineer university, they will take their communication around, let's say, the representative applicant, so basically men. So then basically the woman, I think, feel less welcome in this graduate field.
Yeah, maybe. I agree. I agree. To be honest, I don't know exactly the main reasons, but of course there are a lot of people, male people who is in STEM, but not women. Why aren't they going to the university? Why they are not feeling about? They are not interested in this kind of careers. How do you think we could increase women's representation in technology through education?
Yeah, I think it's not something that we will change in one day. Of course, it will take
No.
time, and it's already, I think, improving, even if there is still a lot to do. But I think it's crucial to get, let's say, girls into science in, let's say, early age. So, yeah, activity with concrete example of science application uh, in formal education, but also, let's say, informal way, are a good, I think, strategy to reduce this gap. Um, Also, let's say, we need to ensure that equal access to new technology and science. And I think it's going through basic, let's say, training at school for let's say, digital media, for example.
Of course.
Yes, and also I think family support is really key to push basically the
Yes.
girls to continue and pursue the study. I think there is still, let's say, in almost all country, let's say, some, let's say, break for this.
Okay, technology has the power of connection, but the gender gap persists, decreasing the possibility for girls to access the use of technology. Girls' participation in fields like STEM is critical due to no equity economic development. The global digital divide is a reality with impacts on pure access for girls to information, learning opportunities, and employment. Plan International is working to bridge the gap and empower girls and women not to fear the ICT world. It's not for men only. Let me finish with the great sentence that you can see in the slide. The influence of family, as you have commented, educational and social factors, together with the invisibility of women in the most masculinized spheres, conditions the perception of girls and boys, sustaining gender stereotypes and discouraging women from entering these fields. More or less is like a resume of what we have discussed in these questions. And now let's go to know you a little more, Estela, and hear firsthand about your experience as a woman in ICT and your development in a technological company like Ewellix. How do you perceive the gender gap in STEM disciplines, and what action do you propose to close it? You have commented it in the previous question, but maybe you can explain a little more.
Mainly, let's say, from my experience, gender gap, let's say, in this scientific field has never really been an issue for me. I think the environments that I work in Ewellix are really caring and respectful, and let's say there is always place for women. So it's even sometimes a strength because it allows me to differentiate. But still, I think as being, let's say, a bit only female in this sector, we are losing some key benefit having, let's say, some parity, having, let's say, more, gender, let's say, parital team will be more, let's say, effective. So what's, let's say, blocking this from happening? I think there is first the question of salary equality that need to be addressed. We still, I think, have some gap there, and also I think it's increased during the career. So at the entry level, there is a small gap, but after a few years, it's increasing. We already touched this point, but I think we also are in lack of women in leadership role, and also it's give a model for the women. So I think it will be an action to take and some initiative to let's say, to close this gap.
I especially agree with the point of education from the really early years of a girl to make this world more attractive for her. So, okay, amazing. And another question, more about Ewellix. Does Ewellix have specific initiatives to encourage gender diversity in its team?
Yeah, I don't think there is specific initiatives that I'm aware, at least in Switzerland, but really all people are considered without any consideration of their gender. So I really never felt, let's say, an issue or let's say, or yeah, always, let's say, very welcome and caring environment there.
From your experience, what are the benefits of having parity in technical field teams?
Yeah, so I think there is several. Maybe the first one is to have a more different point of view in the same team. So if, let's say, people come from different places, and I think gender is one difference between people, you will bring, let's say, different point of view, and it will basically push, let's say, our favorite creativity, innovation. Yeah, you will get more idea concretely.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
Completely agree. Yes, yeah. From my own experience, I can say exactly the same of you. Different people, different point of view. It could be really enrichment from different point of view to solve a problem. Could be really great. Another question, can you share a significant challenge that you've faced in your career and how you overcame it?
Yeah, I think it's not, let's say, only due to the fact that I'm a woman, but also that I was young at that time. But one time I faced, let's say, a difficulty to make my voice heard to let's say, a customer, even if I was, let's say, really specialized on the topic. So yeah, being in the room of, let's say, 50 plus years old men, it's not always easy to, let's say, make your points. So yeah, it was hard, let's say. It took me several, let's say, meetings and getting support from, let's say, the different person from the room, let's say, one by one, and involving also, let's say, people from more experience, so they listen to me. But at the end, yeah, it worked.
You have described something that it happened to me in the past, so I really feel very like if you were talking about my own life.
Yeah, I think
it's
that's
fun
something that
because it's
everybody.
more or less the same. Okay. Are there any specific lessons you've learned from those challenging times?
Yeah, I will say I learned that I should not doubt too much about myself if I'm sure of me. And I think it's also an advice we want. I think if you are sure about
Okay.
yourself, you should make your point and not, let's say, let people discourage you.
Exactly the same lesson for me. Okay, tell us about some of your favorite tech projects. Is there is there one that stands out to you?
Okay, one that came to my mind. Maybe, yeah, the Ocean Cleanup Project. I don't know if you're aware. It's maybe one of my favorites. They started, let's say, maybe 10 years ago, and they developed a technology to extract plastic pollution from the ocean.
Wow,
The
so
system is pretty
beautiful.
simple. So that's quite
Amazing.
amazing, yeah, from engineering point of view. Yeah, so basically they develop a simple, let's say, simple. It
Wow,
looks simple, but
amazing.
not simple. But a floating barrier that has at the surface of water, and basically that collects all the marine debris. So
Wow, it's amazing and beautiful, and it seems really hard to do. I don't know. It's like a challenge.
yeah, but they came with quite simple, let's say, innovation. And now it's been in test and let's say running for a few years. So that's I think a really good let's say tech project.
Right. Have you been involved in project or initiatives that use technology to address social issues specifically?
Yes, so in my previous company, I was part of a foundation there, and I participate mainly to two, let's say, action. So the first was called Elle Move, so she move in English, and basically it's to promote STEM graduate and industry to, let's say, girls and teenagers.
Wow.
So we were, let's say, doing events at, let's say, high school and to basically present them profession that, let's say, more male oriented. And the second one was named, let's say, the Engagement Institute. And the goal was to help, let's say, young adults, so maybe between 16 and 24 years old person, to realize their project with advice, so let's say, and support.
Wow.
So it could be, let's say, restart their study, set up their startup, or realize a project. So any kind of, let's say, dreams they have.
Wow, amazing. Wow. Sorry, because I'm really impressed. What advice would you give to young women, in this case, who are considering careers in tech? Okay, you have talked a little bit about that, but especially your advice for young women?
Yeah, sure. I would like to advise them maybe to study what they want and also to pick their profession they like. I think you can achieve whatever you want with a bit of motivation and determination.
Beautiful advice. And it's more or less the same advice that I give to young women when I met when I meet some of these women, because I think it's the proper advice. They can do whatever they want, but maybe they don't know it yet. And let's move on. Look, Stella, what do you think about these images? Interesting, don't you think?
Yeah, it looks nice. What is
Okay. It's a little surprise. Okay, let's continue. Although they do not have the repercussion they deserve, they are pioneering women who contribute to the technological evolution of the world. There are many, but we bring two inspiring examples today, and this one is the first one. Anouk Wipprecht. I don't know if the pronunciation of the name is correct because she comes from the Netherlands. Anouk is a fashion designer and robotics engineer. And you are seeing some of the creations of this woman. She's known for creating interactive and technologically advanced apparel. She has collaborated with companies such as Intel and Audi, and she development of technological fashion and has been recognized for her innovation in the field. And you can see some of her works in these images. I think it's completely amazing. It's like a revolution between art, between technology, and maybe between design of fashion. It's completely amazing. She's Anouk Wipprecht. Sorry if the pronunciation is not exactly correct. And the second is this woman. Do you know her? She's pretty famous.
No,
Stella?
I don't know.
No? Okay, don't worry. She's Mira
Tell me
Murati.
what.
Mira Murati is the engineer who leads the team behind ChatGPT. Do you know ChatGPT?
Yes, of course.
Yes. The artificial intelligence created for maintaining written conversations that has caused a sensation worldwide. She is 35 years old. She's an American engineer who has also leads the team behind DALL-E. Do you know DALL-E, the artificial intelligence that draw images?
Yeah.
Well, DALL-E is this an artificial intelligence that create artwork based on instruction, and she's the woman who is leading these engineering teams, who is working on these products. And no one knows that she's a woman, but yes, she is, and she's contributing to the world to making it maybe better. And okay, it's the moment to say goodbye. With that, we come to the end of our special Girls in ICT Day webinar. It's been an incredible journey to explore Plan International's history and its impact on the world. But it doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. What do you think, Stella?
Yeah, I think it was, thanks for the, let's say, today's discussion. It was interesting to know more about, let's say, Plan International, and also to see a bit some figure about the gender gap yeah, in scientific field.
Okay, thank you so much, Stella, for being with us today. Before the final goodbye, have you been inspired today listening? Do you want to make the difference in the world? Well, there's something that can be done. Plan International is looking for bright young minds who want to contribute to their cause. If you are interested in being part of the change and in making the world fairer and more equitable place, join us. Visit our website or social media, Stella, you too, to learn more about how you can get involved and make the difference. And before we say goodbye, I want to thank all of you for joining us today, especially you, Stella. Thank you, because you are in the other part of the world. We know that we really appreciate the time you have shared with us today. And a special thanks, of course, to Plan International, and a special thanks to Ewellix for making this event possible. Without their support, we would not have been able to share these inspiring stories. Farewell. So, boys and girls, keep going, keep fighting for what you believe. And remember, change starts with each of us. And see you in the next episode. Stay tuned. And thank you, Stella. And see you, everybody.